We're saying about the recording, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so these are some statistics which I gathered in February 2020. Okay, so we have around 1.35 million people dying each year in road traffic crashes. Okay, it's one of the sustainable development goals. This is set up by United Nations. Okay, that whatever road traffic fatalities we were having, deaths. Okay, fatalities mean deaths. Okay, so whatever deaths we were having and injuries we were having because of traffic crashes, they want to make it half by 2020. Whether they did it or not, we don't know up till now, because we have just finished 2020. So still people are doing research on that, and it will take some time to gather the worldwide data, right? But this is what they want. Okay, so this is a global agenda now. This is a global agenda. Every country is working on that. That means, okay. So these road traffic crashes, they cost more than or almost 3% of GDP, gross domestic product, and 3% is an average value. So for some countries it is costing more. Okay, so costing in terms of vehicle damage, damage to people, damage to property, and so on. Okay, uh, more than half the deaths are for vulnerable road users. So this is a new term maybe for you. Vulnerable road users are those people who are more likely to get injured and more likely to die in the case of a road traffic crash. Okay, and these people are pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists. And from the list, I think it is obvious why they are vulnerable, because they are unprotected. If you are in your car, then your car is your protection, right? You are in your vehicle, car, or whatever type of vehicle you are driving, that is all also protecting you. Okay, so until the car is totally damaged, there may not be any injury coming to you. Okay, most of the times it will be the case. Okay, and again, inside the car you have airbags and seat belts and whatnot, but these people, they don't have this protection. Okay, so obviously they are more vulnerable to injuries and deaths in the case of a road traffic crash. uh, these crashes are more uh, prominent phenomena in low and middle income countries. Okay, Bahrain, mashallah, is high income country, but still we have a problem of accidents. I will show you the statistics in the coming slides. Okay, so we have 93% of fatalities of road crashes happening in low and middle income countries. Okay, although they have 60% of vehicles of the world, so they have less proportion in terms of number of vehicles, but they have a very high proportion in terms of number of deaths in road traffic crashes. Okay, maybe some of you belong to a country like me. You may not belong to Bahrain. You may not be a Bahraini. In the end, you may have to go back to your own country and work in the field of traffic engineering. So, okay, this may become important for you. Uh, so, road traffic injuries are leading cause of death for children and young adults, people who are between 5 to 29 years. Okay, children, obviously, because they are part of this group, pedestrians and cyclists. Okay, and young adults, uh, some of them are motorcyclists, but even in the vehicles, people, young adults who are driving vehicles, driving cars and so on, the ratio is pretty high as compared to other age groups. Okay, and the reason can be there is inexperience and there other issues with them. Okay, you can search online, you will find many reasons why they are more involved in that. Okay, so uh, and obviously this age group is important for the society as well. Children and young adults are important for the society as well, because these are the people who will be or who are the future of the country, right? So these people are being affected and being uh, getting injured and dying in the road traffic accident. That means the future is in danger. Okay, these are some statistics. Okay, courtesy Ibrahim here. Okay, he provided me with the statistics of 2019 last year, so I thought I should take some slides from it. Okay, so these are basically death rates in different governorates of Bahrain. Okay, so you can see minimum is 1.86, which is in Muharraq, and the maximum is in Northern Governorate, which is 5.68. Okay, so 5.68 deaths per 100,000 population, or you can see death rate per 10,000 registered vehicles as well. These are the number of registered vehicles in 2019. Okay, and again the highest death rate is for Capital Governorate. In terms of number of vehicles, the highest death rate is for Capital Governorate. Okay, so you can see if you change the denominator, so here they are taking the denominator as population, here the denominator is number of registered vehicles. Okay, so the death rate can change. So you can see here now the Capital Governorate has higher, and then Southern Governorate. Okay, on the basis of number of vehicles. Okay, so if you talk about in terms of traffic, then Capital has the highest governorate. If you are talking in terms of population, exposure of population, then Northern has the highest rate. Okay. Then we have these are the statistics for number of accidents, total number of accidents, and different types of them. So you can see in Capital Governorate, the number of serious injury accidents are higher than other types. Okay, same for Muharraq as well. This is a very alarming situation. Okay, normally it is like this. Okay, it is something like this. The highest is normally slight injury, and then serious injury, and then fatalities are very low. Okay, but having more as serious injury accidents, this is a very alarming situation. That means most of the accidents are of higher severity. Okay, so this is very alarming. This is not. This is unusual. This is unusual. Okay, so like I was saying at the start, those statistics are average values, and just showing the trend. Okay, but what is actually happening in each country may be different. Okay, so you cannot say no, the problem is for low and middle income countries, we don't have to do anything about it. No, the problem is even in Bahrain as well. Okay, as a transportation engineer, we are focused on providing mobility to all. Okay, so for example, we have seen, or I have shown you that some road user groups are more vulnerable, they are more involved in accidents than others. Okay, so this doesn't mean that you stop caring about them. Okay, no, this is a very small population or a small part of the population, let us ignore them. No, you cannot ignore them, because your job is to provide mobility for all of them. They should be able to move from one place to the other with the same safety and efficiency as other road users. Okay, so you cannot ignore any type of road user. Okay, and you have to, like I said, providing mobility for all, keeping safety in mind. Okay, so as a transportation engineer, these are the safety related areas which are handled by transportation engineers, and they are related to road safety. Okay, so roadside clearance analysis. Okay, work zone safety analysis, horizontal curve advisory boards. These types of analysis have been covered to some extent in the previous courses, traffic engineering and highway engineering. Okay, we have talked about horizontal curves, we have talked about work zones, we have talked about the effect of roadside clearance on the capacity and these things. Okay, in this particular course, we will discuss these items, the remaining 5 items: road safety audits, conflict analysis, identification of hazardous locations, countermeasure deployment, and analysis of countermeasures. Okay, so let us start with the first item, which is road safety audits. What is a road safety audit? Is a analysis tool. Okay, it's a sort of a road safety analysis in which you have an independent audit team, like you do if you know the concept. For any company, they do these external audits for their accounts, right? So this is the same thing for road safety. You have an independent external road audit team, safety audit team, that will do the safety evaluation of a new or existing road. New means it has just been constructed or it has gone through some construction work, and existing means that it has not, it is the same road as people have been using for years. Okay, so it can be applied to new or existing, but in this independent team of external auditors come and evaluate the safety of the road, the safety aspects of the road. Okay, and we don't do it for single sites, for single intersections or segments. We do it for the full length of the road. Okay, this is a proactive approach. Okay, we have a reactive approach as well, which is known as road safety review. So in road safety review, you identify a site that has already been proven to be a dangerous site. Okay, that is already proven to be a dangerous site. So we have complaints about that site, and there have been lots of accidents on that site. So you already know that this site has a safety problem. In case of road safety audits, this is not the case. You may be doing road safety audit for a site which does not have a high crash rate. Okay, or for a road, sorry, I keep on saying site. You may be doing it for a road which does not have presently a high crash rate, but you may still do it. Okay, like I said, we even do it for new sites as well, for new roads as well. So obviously new roads will not have a high crash rate. They will not have any crashes at all, right? This is just a new road. In road safety audits, you can identify the potential driver errors. Okay, what are the potential means? Again, something which can happen. So again, coming back to the point, that is proactive. Proactive. You are not waiting for things to happen. You go to the site and you try to identify what can happen. Okay, so potential driver errors and site problems. Okay, you try to during the road safety audit, you are trying to see the effect of these items on the safety of the road. For example, capacity, roadway capacity. So whatever measures you are adopting for increasing or decreasing the capacity, how will it affect the road? Okay, the effect of right of way. Okay, the things which are covered in the right of way. Okay, the side slopes and shoulders and sidewalks and these things. Environmental issues, the weather conditions, the lightings and these things. Public interest and constraints, political interest, sorry, political interests and constraints. Okay, so strategies, the effect of government strategies on the roads and so on, right? So a road safety audit has 8 steps, and there are mainly 2 parties involved. In a road safety audit, there are 2 main parties involved. One is known as a project owner, okay, or that can also be the design team. If it is a new project, then it can also be the design team, okay, and the other one is a road safety audit team itself. Okay, so there is a project owner or the design team of the project which are directly involved in the project, and then we have road safety audit team which are the external auditors. Okay, these are the external auditors. Okay, so you can see some of the steps only the project owner or design team is involved. Some of them they are involved together, like step 3 and 6, and some of them only road safety audit team is working. Okay, so it happens in a mixed type of way. Okay, the steps are conducted in a mixed approach. Okay, let us go through these steps. The first step is identifying the sites which you should include in the road safety audit. Okay, sites again mean the roads. Okay, the roads. It can be new or existing sites. Existing means we are doing it pre-construction, and new means we are doing it post-construction. Okay, some construction work has already happened. So what existing sites you can include in the road safety audit? Complex road designs, roads which have complex designs, their curves, and you are using reverse curves and some dangerous turnings and so on. Okay, existing sites with known safety problems. So obviously, if a site already has a safety problem, that should be included in the road safety audit. Okay, and high profile projects. Okay, you will see this term in pre-construction as well as post-construction sites. High profile projects, the roads in which people and government have high interest. Okay, so obviously people will have high interest in a road which is taking them to a important facility such as an airport. Okay, or maybe a national monument or something. Okay, and the government may have high interest in a project. Maybe it is going towards, let's say, the presidency. Okay, in other countries have the presidents. In this case, it may be going to the king's palace or something. Okay, so these are high profile projects. Okay, in which the government and people have interest. Then post construction sites which may be included for audit are against sites which are showing notable collision or accident problems after the construction. So you have just finished the construction a few months ago, and you are now getting reports of accidents happening on that site. So that site should be having the audit. High profile projects, even if they don't have a collision problem or not, if they don't have a collision problem, you may still include them into audit. Okay, and sites where traffic characteristics are expected to change because of the construction of the road or because of new developments in the area. Okay, so you have a site, you have just done construction, and you feel because of this construction or because of something which is happening in the area, the traffic characteristics will change in future. Okay, so for that site you may also do road safety audit. So you can see in both the points, sites with known safety problems are there, but there are other sites as well which may be part of the audit and which may not have any proven or known safety problem, but they are still part of the audit. Okay, then you select the team. The team should have members from the audit team. Okay, the team should have members from consulting agencies and administrative agencies from other jurisdictions. So they are not part of the project. They are not part of the road maintenance or construction work. Okay, or road management. They are from other agencies. Okay, so a good mix is 3 to 10 members. Okay, half of them should be engineers, and then you can have people from other agencies as well, like law enforcement, fire and rescue, pedestrian and bicycle advocates. Okay, like even in Bahrain we have NGOs who work with the rights of and for the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists. Okay, I've heard few names in the news. Okay, let us do a very quick and short activity. Okay, what I will do is I will break you into groups. Okay, so how many we are? We are 12. Okay, so I will just make 3 groups. Okay, not many. So you discuss in your groups. I will give you like 5 minutes. Okay, you discuss in your groups, and then you prepare a list of the agencies from which you can take the people for this audit team. Okay, the agencies, not the name of the people. Okay, don't say take Mr. this and Mr. X and Mr. Y. The agencies from which you would be taking the people for your audit team. Okay, and as I mentioned, it can be private organization or public organization. Okay, you can also name NGOs as well. Okay, so I am breaking you into 3 groups. Okay, so I will break the groups after 5 minutes, and then you will tell me what agencies are included there. Okay, so you can select one person who will tell me your findings. Okay, so discuss them. Okay, don't rely on one person.